Okay, for the longest time on this show, Rachel and the team have been chasing this guy. His name is DJ Ravi Drums. Also, these fellows who call themselves the Piano Guys. And also, the front man of country. Also, these baton twirlers. For almost 2 years, this show has been obsessed with all these guys. Because we've been trying to figure out how all of this, the Donald Trump Presidential Inauguration Committee, managed to cost $100 million. That's how much the Trump Inaugural Committee raised to throw an inauguration with empty bleachers, C-list acts, and tractor parades. They spent more than double what President Barack Obama spent at his record-breaking inaugural, which was far better attended and had super A-list celebrity entertainment. No offense to the baton twirlers. And the Trump Inaugural Committee people have been completely opaque about how they spent all that money. The Inaugural Committee says that they've done an audit of their finances, but have refused to tell the public anything about it. At least $40 million raised by the Trump Inaugural Committee is still unaccounted for, but maybe not for long. Last night, the Wall Street Journal broke the bombshell that federal prosecutors are investigating whether the Trump Inaugural Committee misspent some of that $100 million. And then today, the New York Times put another scoop on that Sunday, reporting that prosecutors are not just investigating the money that went out of the inaugural, but also the money that came in. Whether foreign contributors illegally funneled money into the Trump inaugural campaign. Quote, the inquiry focuses on whether people from Middle Eastern nations, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, used straw donors to disguise their donations to the two funds. In just the last 24 hours, we learned that there is an active federal investigation looking into how the president's inaugural committee managed to raise over $100 million and where they chose to spend it. But they might not have to look far. Today, WNYC and ProPublica dropped this joint investigation into the Trump inaugural spending, revealing for the first time that one of the places all that money went was, ta-da, the Trump Organization. Quote, the inauguration paid the Trump Organization for rooms, meals, and event space at the company's Washington hotel, according to interviews, as well as internal emails and receipts. During the planning, Ivanka Trump was involved in negotiating the price the hotel charged the inaugural committee for venue rentals. A top inaugural planner emailed Ivanka and others at the company to express my concern that the hotel was overcharging for its event spaces, worrying of what would happen when this is audited. As the authors of the piece note, quote, if the Trump hotel charged more than the going rate for the venues, it could violate tax law, which is not great news if your last name is Trump. But the report also gives new details about Rick Gates. Remember him? Rick Gates was the deputy chairman of the inaugural committee and a longtime associate of Paul Manafort. He's also pleaded guilty to multiple felonies in Robert Mueller's Russia investigation and is currently awaiting sentencing. Rick Gates has admitted that he personally may have pocketed some of the money that flowed through the inaugural committee that he helped to run. But the details of his involvement in the inauguration have always been a little cloudy until now. Quote, inaugural workers and had other misgivings. Rick Gates, then the deputy to the chairman of the inaugural, asked some vendors to take payments directly from donors rather than through the committee. According to people with direct knowledge, the vendors felt the request was unusual and concerning. So federal prosecutors are currently putting the Trump inaugural under a microscope if they're peeling apart their finances to see if they broke the law when they raised and spent that enormous amount of money. What will happen when they reach the Trump Organization payments part of the ledger? This story is very quickly becoming a live wire. Expect more sparks. More ahead tonight. Stay with us.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.